That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
All right, guys, I am so excited to bring y'all this video. I mean, it has been in the making for a long time now. So please, just because the effort it took, if y'all have not already, go down there, drop that like, leave a comment letting me know what you think about the draft. Obviously, you'll see the board a little bit later on. And to give you a little bit of context about what's going on here is Victor and I talk pretty much all the time. I mean, Victor and I are talking through Patreon, talking through Discord almost every single day. And he was sharing his Dynasty startup draft with me as they went along, just asking my opinion on a few certain picks. And I'm not going to act like I drafted this team in the slightest. This was 99% Victor, and honestly, it was probably the best Dynasty startup draft that I have seen throughout the entire offseason. And yeah, I mean, you can walk away from some mock drafts or some free leagues and just build a complete monster because you're playing with people who aren't necessarily invested or people that don't really care. But no, this league, this is a paid league. And Victor came out and crushed his league mates. So what I want to do is I want to go through this draft board and talk about each decision point that he had to make, why he decided to go one way instead of the other, and we can kind of review how it worked out, because I think the best way we can become better Dynasty Fantasy Football drafters this offseason, specifically in Dynasty startup drafts and evaluating the players on our current Dynasty leagues, is by going through, doing mock drafts, participating in drafts, and reviewing draft boards. That way, when you're on the clock, you kind of have an understanding of, you know what, if I pass on this player here, there's really no chance that I get him on the way back. I need to take him here or I am going to be screwed at this certain position. So yeah, I think this is going to be a great idea. And as always, I'm going to continue to do mock drafts throughout the course of the entire offseason. I'm going to try to hit one every single week for y'all. And you are the ones that are going to be participating in those mock drafts so we can become better drafters together. So what I need y'all to do is I need you to go down there, hit that subscribe button, but more importantly, you need to hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you get notified whenever we go live, because all of those mock drafts are going to be completed live, and whoever is able to come out to the stream early enough is going to be who is invited to those mock drafts. But that's it. Let me pull up the draft board. Let me slide myself over to the bottom of the screen. And as y'all can see right now, we have a massive quarterback run going off in the first round. And this is a Dynasty Superflex league, so we need to keep that in mind. If you are playing Dynasty Fantasy Football, you need to be playing in a Superflex format, because a one quarterback format is boring. A one quarterback format does not have too much strategy behind it. I mean, just draft your running backs, draft your wide receivers, and win the league. No, but here in a Superflex league, you have to really go out there and try to evaluate your decisions by pick, because so much changes throughout the course of the entire landscape. But anyway, we are going to look at Victor's decision points here. I don't want to focus in on really any other team because I don't want to upset anybody if they notice themselves in this draft. And Victor is drafting out of the 12 spot. And as you can tell, he really did not move around the draft board that much. He kind of just stuck there and made his selections. And he didn't need to be moving around because he had value after value after value falling to him. And starting off in the first round, he had Saquon Barkley falling to him at the 112. And he shot me a quick DM saying, hey Mason, I mean, this is a no-brainer, right? I believe he had already made the selection and just wanted to rub it in my face that he was able to come away at that 1-2 turn going Saquon Barkley and Deandre Swift. And I know one thing that people are going to be quick to run out and look at is the selection of Deandre Swift over Alvin Kamara, something that a lot of people who are new to Dynasty Fantasy Football I know are not going to understand. But guys, after you play Dynasty long enough, after you understand that some of these players are on their rookie contracts, other running backs are already on their second deal with their extensions, and one asset is extremely safe compared to the other one, which is volatile. I mean, I know I use this example almost every single video whenever I am talking about these running backs that are on their rookie contracts, but the value in having those guys is even when they have a disappointing season, the next year they are still going to be the starting running backs on their NFL franchise because they have the guaranteed money. They're playing on an extremely cheap contract. Whereas if you are a veteran running back on a second deal and you don't have guaranteed money that long on that deal, what you are going to see is as soon as you disappoint, I mean, the team is going to be willing to say, you know what, we had enough. You don't have any guaranteed money because this is the NFL and we don't like treating our players good. So buy Le'Veon Bell, buy David Johnson, buy Todd Gurley. I mean, they do not care. So I actually like the decision to draft Deandre Swift over Alvin Kamara. Now it is definitely a lot closer with Matthew Stafford out of Detroit compared to before, but this draft was completed before the Matthew Stafford trade. So at the 201, while maybe you would want to change that pick to an Alvin Kamara now, I think at the time it was a nice selection. And then we see the second and third round go by, and I'll say what kind of just rubs me the wrong way in the second and the third round are a couple picks here. I mean, the Jalen Hurts selection, this just screams, I am trying to get a quarterback run off the board. I am trying to get some quarterbacks to be selected. That way we see a run happen and people aren't necessarily able to just wait back and take some value like Victor decided to do after he saw, I believe, 9 quarterbacks go off the board in the first 11 picks. I mean, he was kind of faced with the decision, you know what, I'm not going to be picking for a very long time. Do I need to reach on a quarterback or do I go with best player available? And I am always advocating, do not be the guy that is trying to start the run. Do not be the guy that is ending the run this early on in the offseason. Just take where the value is. Just go that direction, which is what Victor did. So I don't like the people taking Jalen Hurts in the second round, coming from someone who has Jalen Hurts on almost every single Dynasty roster because his price last offseason was way too low. I mean, in the second round, this one is way too high. But anyway, you see Jalen Hurts, you see Aaron Rodgers go off the board before Victor is back up at the 312. And as well, you see a ton of wide receivers come off. You see CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf. And to be completely honest, I can't agree with these selections. While yes, players like DK Metcalf and Justin Jefferson are straight up studs, I think what we need to be prioritizing early on in our Dynasty startup drafts are actually hitting those running backs that are still on their rookie deals, like we saw Victor do with his third and fourth round selections, where he was able to get Antonio Gibson and Miles Sanders. And I know at this point, a lot of people would probably be extremely scared. I mean, you look at every other team in this draft, and none of them decided to do what Victor did in going 4 players from the same position right off the bat. But Victor was able to identify going, you know what? This is where the value is. Later on in the draft, we are not going to really have the kind of options like these guys. So I love getting an Antonio Gibson. I love getting a Miles Sanders at the 3-4 turn. I mean, just right after this, you see some other running backs going off the board that really do not have the long-term job security like an Antonio Gibson or a Miles Sanders. I mean, you look at Zeke, who just had a career low in efficiency. I will say I actually like the selection of Zeke in this round. I know a lot of other Dynasty startup drafts he's going to be going a lot earlier than this. So the 4th round is where I think you have to press the button on him. But regardless, afterwards, you see Aaron Jones, you see Joe Mixon, Austin Eckler, David Montgomery, Chris Carson, A.J. Dillon, all going off the board. Whereas in that same range, you have some quality wide receivers, which almost fell back to Victor at the 512, where yes, he did walk away with Mike Evans, a pick that I absolutely love. I think at this point of the season, I mean, Mike Evans may just be the best Dynasty value wide receiver in the entire NFL. While I understand, it seems like he's been in the NFL forever now, as he was drafted in 2014. This is still a player that is much younger than most people know because he came into the NFL at an extremely young age. So Mike Evans in the 5th round, a pick that I absolutely love. And then following it up with Mark Andrews off the board after TJ Hawkinson, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and Darren Waller, and Noah Fant. I'm sorry, actually Noah Fant went afterwards. I'm sorry about that. But all of those other 4 tight ends went significantly earlier than Mark Andrews. Andrews is a player that, yes, I invested into last offseason while his price was higher than this, and I kind of paid the price for it as he has fallen since then. But if you're going to be getting him in the 6th round while TJ Hawkinson is going at the very beginning of the 5th, I think if you just break down how the target distribution should be in Baltimore this next year, that is a fantastic pick. But let's point out what we saw from Victor here, deciding to go with a Mike Evans and a Mark Andrews over these other quarterbacks, where he kind of just gambled. I mean, he rolled the dice. He went, you know what? I already have the rookie pick 101. So what that is going to allow me to do is that's going to allow me to take Trevor Lawrence. So I have no need to rush a quarterback pick here. I am going to just go balls to the wall, and we are going to continue to take best players available. And this is something that we all need to learn. This is going to be the #1 theme of this video. Do not get scared. Stick with your convictions and go with best player available. So instead of going with a Matthew Stafford, a Tom Brady, a Matt Ryan at the 601, he goes, you know what? The last player in the tight end tier is going to be Mark Andrews. We're taking him here. Maybe we get some quarterbacks falling to us in the 7th and 8th round. And that's exactly what happens. I mean, it falls perfectly. With Victor's next 2 selections, after players like Michael Pittman, Odell Beckham Jr., Jalen Reagor, and Myles Gaskin, Henry Ruggs, Laviska Shenault, I mean, all these players that should not be going in this range go off the board already. He is able to go through and get Daniel Jones and Kirk Cousins as his first 2 quarterbacks. And while I know neither one of these picks are that sexy, with Daniel Jones, he is still on the rookie contract for the New York Giants. He has that solidified starting job right now for that team going forward. And then on the other hand, with Kirk Cousins, this is a quarterback that, yes, right now at the time of this recording, is currently having trade rumors circulating around him. We know that even if he is traded, he has that guaranteed starting job, and he's had an extremely high career efficiency, where if the volume bumps up for Kirk Cousins in whatever offense that he is in this next season, that's a pick that could be an extreme value. So at this point of the draft, we know that Victor already has Saquon Barkley, Deandre Swift, Antonio Gibson, Miles Sanders, Mike Evans, Mark Andrews, and then 3 great quarterback options, because I want to remind everyone that Victor has the rookie pick 101 that he is going to be able to take Trevor Lawrence at, and then combined with the fact that he has 2 quarterbacks that he can kind of platoon through based on matchups with Daniel Jones and Kirk Cousins. I think that is a superb strategy. And now, this is what I was telling Victor on why we were avoiding the wide receivers in rounds earlier, except the Mike Evans value pick. It's because these next rounds, you are going to see wide receiver value, wide receiver value, wide receiver value. I mean, let's just go through this extremely quickly. With the 9th and 10th round pick, while players before Robbie Anderson that went off the board are Raheem Mostert, Leonard Fournette, Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds, Damian Harris, all of those running backs, you can't guarantee that they'll even have a starting job this next year. He is able to get impact wide receivers that have already proven that they have the talent profiles to be impact players for him over the next few years in Robbie Anderson and Curtis Samuel. And while he was able to soak up this wide receiver value while other people were having to pass up on it, was because of his investment into the running backs at the very beginning of the draft. Let me just point something out real quick in comparison. Let's look at a team that selected 2 picks before Victor, where he decided to go just say with a Stephon Diggs over Antonio Gibson. And then in this last round, instead of being able to go with a wide receiver value like a Robbie Anderson, he was actually forced to reach a little bit on Chase Edmonds. And I think we can all agree, for Dynasty fantasy football purposes, we would rather have the combination of Antonio Gibson and Robbie Anderson over Stephon Diggs and Chase Edmonds. So this is why you take your running backs early, so you're allowed to soak up this wide receiver value late. And then afterwards, he decides to go with a Christian Kirk, a Mecole Hardman, to follow those 2 selections. And Mecole Hardman, I don't know how many times I have to talk about this player. I mean, he is a wide receiver that is still on that rookie contract, that is playing on a team that is going to have Patrick Mahomes for the next decade. And Demarcus Robinson and Sammy Watkins both are in the last year of their deals this season. So we can see Mecole Hardman get a massive jump up in targets next year. Then in the 13th round, at the 13th, 14th turn, in the range where we see LaMichael Pirine going off the board, we have him taking Devin Singletary. Now, we all know Devin Singletary is a running back that I have hated on continuously throughout the entire history of this channel. I hated him in rookie drafts back in 2019. I hated his evaluation in 2020 of the offseason. But knowing that he's on that rookie contract, knowing that the Buffalo Bills are most likely not going to invest into the running back position with Zach Moss and Devin Singletary already there. Singletary is a superb pick in the 13th round. And then he just continues to take wide receiver value after wide receiver value in Paris Campbell in the 14th, Quintez Cephas in the 15th, and Nikhil Harry in the 16th. And I know Nikhil Harry has been a player that we've pretty much all been low on for the past 2 years, but I'm starting to change my tune. I mean, when you're looking at Nikhil Harry, would you rather have a former first-round wide receiver that's going into year 3, or would you rather have Tim Patrick? Would you rather have Marvin Jones? Would you rather have Devin Duvernay? Personally, I would be going with Nikhil Harry, so I actually like that pick there. And then in the next 2 rounds, he decides to double tap the Cleveland Browns tight ends. We know that both David Njoku and Harrison Bryant have looked extremely talented at respective points in their NFL careers so far. Now, David Njoku is another player that I just want to add to the list, possibly being the most undervalued player in Dynasty Fantasy Football. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing that he's going in the same round of an Anthony Ferksker, of a Dan Arnold, of a Devin Asai. I mean, David Njoku right now is a superb value in these Dynasty startups. Then he decides to go with a Hunter Renfrow with his next selection. Now, I don't want to get into the last 4 rounds because pretty much you're just throwing darts there. But I want to go back up and just remind everyone that the reason that Victor was able to go out here and construct this juggernaut of a team is while, yes, that quarterback run in the first round was very scary. But instead of Victor deciding to reach on an Aaron Rodgers, instead of deciding to trade up to get a different quarterback, he stuck to his guns. He went, you know what? I'm going best player available. I'm not going to be taking a Ryan Tannehill. I'm not going to be taking a Tua over a running back still on his rookie contract that can catch passes in an Antonio Gibson or a Miles Sanders. We are going to get our 3 down bell cows at the very beginning. We are going to then see if we have a quarterback value falling to us later in the draft, because we know so many teams at the very beginning decided to load up. They're most likely not going to be able to spend those luxury picks on their 3rd quarterback or so. And then he went wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. I love what we saw from Victor here. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know if y'all want me to break down your Dynasty teams. If you do, make sure you go over, send them to me on Instagram, send them to me on Twitter, send them to me on Patreon, and I'll try to get to as many as I can possibly in future videos. If you like this video, make sure you go down there and actually drop a like on it on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment letting me know what you thought about this video format, and if you want to see more anytime soon. And that's it, guys. Have a great day.